Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for stopping in to see what we're up to on our 50-state trip. We just left Alaska, and I'm sitting around the kitchen table with Chelsea, Cassie, and our host here in Tacoma, Washington. So, Cherie Perucci, say hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone.
You know, Cherie, on our journey home from Alaska back to the lower 48 states, which is funny how they call us that there, we were talking a lot about just what we got out of our trip in Alaska. And we always reflect when we leave places about how we felt about that state or our time there and just our general thoughts. And, one of the things that I was saying to the girls, and we were really talking about together, is that each of the people we met, and girls, you got to help me go through each of the people that we met so we can tell everybody exactly what we mean by this. But each of the people we met were so kind. Like, they just wanted to add to our experience. They wanted to share their passion for Alaska. They were so welcoming, and I don't know, what else would you guys say they were?
I think people were excited. I mean, they were excited to see us. They were excited to hear our story. They were excited to see something different, to be a part of that. And it was really cool because they got the vision. They saw the vision, which was really neat to see, and also just being there for us. I mean, just being people we'd never met before. We could have been 3 random people off the streets that just wanted a free ride, and it wasn't like that. Like, we added value to their lives as much as they added value to ours, and that was really cool.
Let's try and go through the people that we met. So the first stop was obviously we stayed at Big Bear Bed and Breakfast, and we met Carol, right? Carol Ross hosted us there, Cherie, for 4 nights, a place to sleep, and a really cool place to sleep, and which there's a video on YouTube that we're posting, and also breakfast every morning. Cassie, what would you say about Carol and the Bed and Breakfast as far as what we mean here?
Carol was very knowledgeable about Alaska and really liked talking about it. She was a great host.
She really was, and she shared so much of Alaska history. And even on the phone when I was looking, I'm like, how are we going to do this 50-state trip? We don't know people in every state. So once I had connected with where we're going to stay in Maine, which is another bed and breakfast, I thought maybe other people would want to host us as well, so we can share what they're doing with the world. So we stayed in a bed and breakfast in Nebraska, and now we stayed here with Carol, and she's also a tour guide, so she knew so much. And she on the phone just said, I'm so excited to share Alaska with you and everyone, with your audience. So I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. So after we met her, she sent us to a great restaurant, which was it's the number 4 brewery in the country, which is Glacier Brew House. Even our waiter there, what was he like?
Oh, he was super excited and fun, and he pointed us in a lot of different directions and gave us some pointers, and again was just genuinely interested in what we were doing and excited about it.
Yeah, he sent us to a locals place, and he said, and the people there will help you do whatever it is you want to do. And we went there. It was really cool. So the next day we interviewed Jeff Landfield, who's running for state senate. Not for anything, but we met him for dinner later. He wanted to come have dinner with us. We met him for dinner later. He took us around Alaska for this fun insider glance into what goes on in Anchorage. It was really, really funny. Mm-hmm. And then who did we see after that? I guess the next day was our really big day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was the wildlife conservation when we spoke with Scott Michaelis. Remember him? Cassie, what'd you think about, was that guy passionate about what he's doing and about sharing it with us, or what?
Yeah. And how could you not be in his environment? It's just gorgeous.
He took us all the way to the end where somebody just got married there.
Mm-hmm.
Stunning. Mm-hmm. And he was so happy to do it. We had our own little limo ride in one of their shuttles.
Well, yeah, and they're doing good things there. I mean, they're it's almost like a rescue center for, the animals in that region. I mean, like he was saying, the wooden bison, by taking them in, they took them off the endangered list. extinction list.
That was amazing. So then we met, like, seriously, the rock star, Cherie, of our entire trip, who was Lisa Cruz from Phillips Cruises and Tours. Why was she the rock star, Chels?
Because she set us up like queens all day long, in the sense that she set up the entire itinerary.
Including the Wildlife Center with Scott.
Including the wildlife. She had us going, this is the time you need to leave, this is the time you need to get there. And it was a tad stressful in the sense that, like, oh my gosh, because
it was a tight itinerary.
It was a tight itinerary, and it was purposeful, right? And it was one of those moments where you're like, I felt like you just didn't want to let them down. Like, if we were 15 minutes late, we wouldn't get through the tunnel. We were 10 minutes late, we wouldn't get through the tunnel. Like, it was like, it needed to be on point. And, and I think that was key too. I mean, I talked about how the little mechanical things that we countered in the morning, like, we worked through them. And we got through them, and there was a little bit of oh my goodness, and we got through it, and it made it that much more of a
success story.
Success, yeah. I mean, she just rocked it out, though. I mean, she had us meeting some pretty amazing people. I mean,
who were so good to us all day long.
Yeah.
So it was like, not only did we get to go see these people and interview them, each one of them added to our experience, whether it was Scott bringing out waters for us, or after we met with Lisa Cruz, we walked, a couple blocks down the street, and we interviewed Kelly Bender, and they had the small boat business and also a coffee shop. That the view behind her business was the most beautiful view I'd ever seen. It's a marina with snow-capped mountains behind it. I mean, just stunning, absolutely stunning. And after the interview, she had prepared for us to go. She goes, I know you'll be in a hurry, but I made bagels with cream cheese and fresh salmon. Mm. I was so nice. So nice. So we raced back to get on the ship in time, because it's like, these were big things. If we missed the tunnel, we were beat. If we missed the cruise before, it left, we were done. Like, all of our things, our equipment, that we needed was also on the boat already. So we get on there, and we had 5 hours, and we got to go into the wheelhouse, and we got to interview the captain, right, Cassie?
Mm-hmm. He was also from Louisiana, which was cool.
Yeah, Captain Cody Hanna.
Mm-hmm. He was a really sweet guy.
And he had to maneuver us out of the ice. When the ice backed in behind us, we saw that huge capping from a glacier, which they said was the largest they had ever seen, the captain and the ranger who was on the boat. It was a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I posted a video of that on Facebook from the wheelhouse. Somebody had taken it, maybe that new employee that was in the wheelhouse when we went up to interview him. But that was super awesome. And then, Lisa Cruz put these little stuffed animals on our table, gave us the honored table of the whole ship, which is where the owner of the ship who created it used to go. And then she left these little stuffed animals, which was so adorable. And we had an amazing lunch that's included. And they let us off early in the back of the boat so we could make sure that we were at the tunnel, because we had 3 more interviews. So we left there. We went to Alpine Air, Alaska, where we spoke with Sasha Swift, who organizes the helicopter tourist flight scene, which thankfully we had 2 more interviews after that, because the owner wanted to put us up. And I was like,
And I was like, yeah.
I know. If we could have worked it out the next day, we probably would have done that. But Sasha was amazing. What did you think was so amazing about her, Chels?
Just that she was so one of those people that you never would have guessed her story. It's like not judging somebody by their cover. I would never have guessed that she would have been in the service, and
that she was in the Army.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And like she was, she's badass. Like she was really cool and super nice, and genuinely loved her job.
Right, because her passion is helping people check things off their bucket list. And that was, and she was truly passionate about that. It was exuding from her. She just loves her job so much. Because I said to her, well, what could you see yourself doing later? She goes, honestly, nothing right now. I just love what I'm doing so much. We left there, went to Jack Sprat's, the restaurant, we had so much fun. And I know, Cherie, we already told you about what happened. We're starving. We get there. We order like a bottle of wine and 2 appetizers. We have only 45 minutes. We're going to interview Franz and his wife, Jen. And then what happens, Cass?
We interview them, and in the middle of the interview, they bring out even more appetizers.
Start
than we
loading
had
this
ordered.
empty table up with food during the interview. The
Yeah,
servers.
and so now we have way more food to eat, and then like I guess their interview went a little bit over because they just had so many like great things to talk about, just like their past and how they got into doing what they're doing, and we didn't have much time to eat all this food, so
Well, we
were
would
like
have had
stuffing our
to.
faces.
We would have had to allot like 2 hours really for all the food that came out.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
and it was so good.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I wanted
Oh,
to eat it
gosh.
all, but
And just hang out with them. Like, I just wanted to hang out.
They were fun.
yeah, they
They were
seemed
so
like
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, that was so nice of them. They hosted us for dinner, which was amazing. And then we had to go like 5 minutes down the street. But, of course, more drama. You know, how do we get to Ben, right? Because we have to meet with Ben. And he worked at Alyeska Resort. He was taking us to the Seven Glaciers restaurant. But to get to the Seven Glaciers restaurant, Cherie, you had to go up this aerial tram that was 2,300 and something feet off the ground. And it was the most incredible. We had spent a day looking at incredible views. This blew away the glacier view because now you're up top with the glaciers and overlooking everything in a way that was, I mean, my knees were fabulous, as we were saying. They were weak. I'm like, and the food there was so much fun. What'd you think of Ben?
But it was cool.
Ben was a cool cat.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that was tight.
Yep, he sent over all these signature cocktails for us to try, all their signature dishes like this amazing scallop bisque soup and seafood cakes that had salmon and crab. King crab we had, baked Alyeska, which is a play on baked Alaska, and just really fancy drinks. And sitting at the bar there, which is a great view of double black diamond slopes covered in snow right now, was crazy. It was just... It was a dream day, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was.
But the point is, again, just how each of these people truly wanted to add to our experience in such a genuine way. And even when we went to karaoke on our last night,
Yeah, I was supposed to say that woman that I met, Alicia,
yeah,
like within 5 minutes of like meeting her and just like kicking it with her, she's like, yeah, you got a place to stay anytime you're here. You know, barely know this woman. She gave me her number. I'm friends with her on Facebook. Like, yeah, people are definitely just very friendly up there.
they were so, so nice.
Maybe it's all that daylight.
All that daylight, I wonder what they're like when it's dark, right?
Yeah, maybe they're like not so nice in the wintertime. Who knows?
But they were definitely kind, and their gestures were coming from a really kind place, which is why I wanted Cherie to sit in on today's episode. So Cherie, thank you so much for joining us here at your kitchen table, because I'm sure this is exactly what you thought you would be doing tonight.
Right. I'm happy to have you guys. Thank you.
But we were having some really deep conversation today after we had during and after the interview. And so, you know, you added something to the conversation that there wasn't really a perfect spot for in the actual interview. And I thought it would be awesome if we mentioned that in today's episode. First of all, tell everybody exactly what your passion is.
Well, like you were saying, being kind, I aspire to be a giver, and a giver of life, and a giver of love, and a giver of strength, and a connection to resources for people that are within the community who might be on the margins. And specifically, I'm really passionate about ending human trafficking and the exploitation that happens within my community. So we were talking after the interview, and one thing that I really appreciate about what Motivate Me is doing is providing that envisioning and that exploring and executing people's passions and dreams. And for so many of the women that I specifically interact with,
And specifically, though, a lot of those women, you're talking about sex trafficking.
Victims of sex trafficking.
Right.
Yes. For so many of those women, they're not in a place where they can envision anymore. They feel like their rights have been taken away, and that exploring a life beyond what they know is not possible. And so to have conversations with a human being and to encourage them to dream again and to encourage them to connect to the resources where they need help, that is what I'm truly passionate about.
You know, where do you guys think kindness comes from? Like, where do you think? What do you think, Cherie? Where does it stem from? What makes some people genuinely kind and others maybe not as much? Any ideas?
Empathy?
Empathy?
Courage. I think it takes great courage to be empathetic.
Where do you think empathy comes from, too? Like, I know, I'm just, as you're talking too, I'm thinking about, because we, in your interview, talked about the fact that you had struggles in your life that started with divorce, being a single mom, feeling like yourself or knowing like yourself that you were on that margin. Mm-hmm. And it made you very sensitive and empathetic to other people who were in that spot, that you could see how desperation could possibly lead to decisions such as getting involved in something like sex trafficking. And I just wonder if you think, is experience, is the life lessons that we're meant to learn here, is that what it's all about, that kind of pushes us and creates kindness?
I think we're born with it. I believe that we as human beings are born kind. I mean, you put two babies or two toddlers together, for the most part, they don't care what each other look like. They don't care the color of the skin. They don't care whether or not you get the better bottle. They just want the bottle, right? Like, I believe that we're born and with those with that natural instinct to be kind to others. I believe the things that happen to us throughout our lives shape the person that we turn into. And I truly believe that every person has that ability to be kind.
It's getting deep in here all night long since the second we stepped in here, right? Because now all of a sudden we're talking about nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
Deep in Tacoma. So, what do we recommend people do today?
Go to Alaska.
That's number one. Make sure you book a trip to Alaska, especially if you live in any of the areas that are close to Alaska, like Washington State, Montana, Oregon, even California. If you're near here, Cherie, you need to get to Alaska.
I need to go to Alaska.
Your husband described it as the land of the giants. He said it's giant mountains, giant trees, just everything is giant.
Oh.
That's what he said him and his friends called it when they went bear watching.
Nice.
Yes, so. Okay, so you say go to Alaska. What do you say, Chelsea?
Do something out of the norm today. Just go and, whether that's go a different direction to work and see what you see. And, or go for a hike. Do something just random today. Just execute something that you've always wanted to do.
Cherie, what should people go do today?
Be curious. Be curious about life, about places, and most about people. Be curious about the people in your city, the people that are walking down the street, the people that you wouldn't normally see. Stop and ask them how they're doing.
And my go-to today is to tell you to go be kind. Be kind to everybody, especially yourself. Mm-hmm. That's it, everybody. Please remember, you motivate me. That's why we're out here. I'm Lynette Renda.
And I talk to you, and I talk to you, and I talk to you, and I talk to you. And we love, and we hate, and we demonstrate. We try to relate. This is my breakthrough. Whoa. Said now, this my breakthrough. Whoa. Oh man, this my breakthrough.